Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RV Lifestyle and Repair Club, our third quarter live. Maybe it's our second quarter live, whatever. Anyway, my name's Dave Solberg. I'm the managing editor, and we are going to jump right into it. It's the 24th of July, which seems like this summer is just flying by, and with all the rain and weather going on, a lot of people haven't been able to camp too much. So hopefully this fall they can get out there and do that. We had the Grand National Rally last week at Winnebago Industries, and it was pretty decent weather for that. I think they always get some rain just right towards the end, so all those motorhomes can get stuck out in the field and they have to pull them out with tractors. That's a fun thing. We're going to start off. We have Brian has a 2023 Thor Chateau. I usually don't fill my freshwater tank as we use city water hookups while camping. Recently, I noticed water overflowing under my rig coming from the freshwater tank. I was advised that the water pump check valve must have failed, allowing city water to fill my tank. I purchased and installed an inline check valve at the exit part of the water pump, but that too has failed, causing the tank to overflow. So the way you have it set up, I am going to find my water pump right here. And I do not have the check valve or anything else to that, but this is a traditional SureFlow water pump that you would have. It's called an on-demand pump, and the way it works, and your Thor, I would imagine, your Thor probably has a city water connection, which you hook a garden hose up from the hydrant at the city water fill. It goes in, and then you probably have a gravity fill, which is just a hole in a little compartment on the sidewall of your unit. You put a hose in, that fills up your freshwater tank. And so what happens with this is that city water fill, it will go to the inlet side, and it should say, yep, there's a little arrow right there. So this is your inlet side, this is your outside. Typically on this side, you're going to have a bowl with a screen in it, and that is going to help try and keep some of the lime and calcium rust from getting in to the diaphragm parts of the rubber diaphragm in the inside of this. And then you will have a check valve on this back side, and that is part of your plumbing that comes from your RV manufacturer. So what happens is your incoming from your city water fill, it comes in and then it routes up and around. So you'll have basically a T here, and some of it will go to the one side of it here, others will bypass. So when you're in city water fill and it comes up and this isn't running, you don't have your pump on, it's going to say route around this way. And then this is going to pull water from the freshwater tank. And so what happens is when your city water fill is going in, it bypasses your water pump and comes around, it's going to bring pressure to this back side. And so what happens with that then is that if you get that check valve allows water to go this way, which it's not supposed to, it's going to go back through here. And since your city water valve has a check valve in it, it's not going to shoot out. Sometimes I've seen it do that, but that has a check valve to keep things from going backwards. But it's going to bypass back or backflow and fill up your freshwater tank. And then once that gets to a certain point, you're going to have a little valve at the top, or not a valve, but a connection that it's an overflow, and it'll drain down to the bottom. So I don't know what inline, you said you purchased and installed an inline check valve at the exit part of the water pump. So that would be right here. But if you didn't see one in here, there's one somewhere downstream as well. And if that one failed, I'm not sure where you got it at, but what I would recommend is find what SureFlow recommends for theirs, or you might have FlowJet. Furrion has one, or Lippert now has one as well. So I would get and normally you've got a 1/2-inch line coming off this. So the whole idea is that check valve is supposed to keep it from going this direction. So I would definitely, look at what you got to do that. Why it failed again. Most of the time these things fail because of calcium, lime, rust. You got hard water that's going through those. That's why I always recommend putting a filter, not just this screen one here, but get a filter either like your SureFlow like these, before it comes in. I even like the residential ones because that's one you can use. One I typically use with mine is this. This is just a regular Omni water filter that you would get at a home improvement store. They make these little cradles that you can shove into the ground and it holds them in place. What I like about these is that when it fills up, I can just replace the cartridge inside this instead of having to replace this whole thing. This is about $25. I can get a cartridge in here for about $4 or $5. And depending on your campground, some of these will fill up in a hurry and how much water that you use. So that's why I would put a filter in, try to keep that check valve from getting gummed up with calcium, rust, and lime. Mike says, I recently had to manually close the awning on my 2014 Winnebago Aspect 30J. To do so, I had to unscrew 2 hex bolts at the end of the awning, and now I can only screw them back in about halfway. Any suggestions as to the cause and the remedy? So I think probably what happened is when you unscrewed those 2, there's a cap on the end of that, so you probably had to unscrew them to loosen the tension. And on a 2014, I'm not sure if they were still using A&E back then, because they have gone to, almost everybody's gone to Solero by Lippert. But I think if you can find that awning, and one of the things that I really like about Winnebago is they have got the best parts manual. So I'm going to just do a Winnebago.com. And so you want to go in to their owner section and go to owner resources. And I am going to look up 3D service parts lookup. I'm going to go to 2014. I am going to go to the Winnebago. What did you call it? You said it was an Aspect? Let's look here. Aspect 30J. Okay, parts catalog. Aspect 2014 view Aspect 30J. There it is. So it brings up a screen that gives me a list of chassis, doors, compartments, drivers, electric, exterior, awning, body graphics, so forth. I go to that chassis right here, and I want to look at the awning page. And door and awning. So it gives me the awning, but it does not give me. Let's back that up a little bit. It does not give me the model. It just gives lag screws, the rod, door, entrance, and retainer eye. Okay, so that's what I normally like about Winnebago. That didn't work very well. Okay, so let's go back here, and instead of going to the parts catalog, I'm going to go to owner's resources. Let's do shopping tools, and let's see if we can find the awning brand on here. So we're going to go to view the archive, select the Aspect. We're going to go to the 2014, and well, that really looks like a Solero. Go to the LED lights, standard access, awnings, fiberglass, J's 30. Okay, standard features, interior, exterior, electrical, exterior, power patio awning with metal wrap and LED lighting. So it does not give me the brand, but from the looks of it on the brochure, it really looks like a Lippert Solero. And I can do a little more research on it, but I think what's happened, and normally, you know, the awnings that I've seen, you didn't have to take the hex screw off the end of it. There was just a little cap that you opened up, and there was a Torx setting, kind of a hex type inside, that you just manually ran, and it would run it in and out. I'll do a little more research on that, but if you can find the brand, if it is a Solero, we can get a hold of Lippert and find out. I would assume that by taking those two off of there, you have moved the end cap from the canister in that. So there must be an alignment that something is not, you know, if it's going halfway, it's blocking something inside there. And we should be able to get a little more information on that. One other thing, we normally have a download. I don't know if we haven't got that listed in there. So if we get Katie to give us a download, and I have to say that we are very sad today because Katie is going to go into the law profession. I may need her sometime. Keep your phone on, Katie, all the time. Katie is the one that has been coordinating our lives for the last 50 years, I think. Not quite that. Okay, maybe not quite 50, but how could she? She's only 21. So, all right. My daughter just bought a 34-foot 2003 Pathfinder, and the roof ACs failed and were RP. RP, what does that mean? So I'm not sure, Jay, if you give me a little more information. So 34-foot Pathfinder, the roof ACs failed. You know, they're either Dometic or they're Coleman, Eric Cell. I'm pretty sure on that, unless they've replaced them recently with a Rec Pro or Furrion type. But the way the roof air conditioners work is that you got a thermostat that calls for cool air, whether it's on the wall. You know, I don't know if you've got a direct flow coming right out of the air conditioner or if it's ducted going through. But initially what happens when that thermostat then calls for air, basically closes a circuit, which means it runs 12-volt power up to your roof air conditioner. Even though it runs on 120, that 12-volt power from the thermostat is saying, turn on, let's go. And so it will kick in the compressor and the motor, and it draws in moist air. So, you know, the first thing is it even trying to start? You know, if it's not trying to start, check the circuit breakers. You got to check for 120 volt at the wiring. Check your thermostat. Make sure you have 12-volt power. But I'm not sure what the RP would stand for. And see, the roof air's failed. And where RP? So anyway, a little more information, and hopefully can be able to help you. But 120 volt at that thing, if it's lugging to start off, then you probably have compressors that are getting weak and it's too hard. Are you trying to start it? Another thing I see a lot of people do, if they bring it to the house, they plug it in to a 20 amp outlet in the garage, you're going to have some problems because those two roof airs are way more, even one is way more than a traditional garage outlet, because it's gained other ones in there. So, you know, you've got to find out what's the amp draw, what's your power coming in. You know, I've seen some where the outlet only has 105 volts, should have 115 at least. 120 is ideal. So there's several variables that you know, we can troubleshoot if we just know a little more information and take some steps. There are some really good tutorial videos on our site that go through, you know, that troubleshooting and how it works. Michael says, I'm thinking of brightening up the inside of my 2015 Coachman Concorde. Can I paint over the wallpaper? If so, is there a special paint that I should use? And you can paint over wallpaper. The paint that I've used in a couple instances has been Bullseye. It's a Zinsser Bullseye, and it's a primer slash paint. We did the 1996 Salem. If you go in and you look at the trailer makeover, George painted the inside of that, and that was paneling with a faceboard on it, similar to a wallpaper. So I'm assuming that's what you've got in your Coachman. It's a Luan thin 1/8" panel, and then it's got a vinyl wallpaper type thing. So it isn't a true wallpaper that wouldn't hold up in some of the moisture and humidity you would get. So, but the Zinsser, go to Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards if you have them in your area, and just look Ace Hardware. But it's got a bullseye on it, and it's called Zinsser Bullseye, and it can be tinted any color you want. Jim says, I have a house refrigerator with only an ice maker in the freezer on the bottom, no water or ice dispenser. With only an ice maker in the freezer on the bottom, no water or ice. Okay, the ice has a bad smell to it. How can I clean it out? Clean out the system. The refrigerator does not have a filter, so I plan on adding a filter to the water inlet in the back of the refrigerator. And that is important. You didn't say what kind of refrigerator or what year you have, but most of the companies that put in an ice maker in a unit, the water line starts from underneath the sink. It's tapped in there with one of those 1/4 inch or maybe 1/8 inch even plastic lines, and it should have a filter, not quite as big as this one, but underneath it would have an Omni filter that, you basically take this off and you can put a new filter in there. When you winterize it, then you want to take this off and you want to put a plug in here or shut the line off and then run that ice maker repeatedly until it runs out of water, so you don't freeze it up in the wintertime if you're in cold weather. But there are a couple of different products you can use. This one does the entire freshwater tank and system. So you would use the cleaner and then the sanitizer, and that does a nice job of getting it in. It's got a, it says for the size tank that you have, you use 1 ounce of concentrate for every 4 gallons of tank capacity. So, 50 gallon tank, you would want to use 10, 12 ounces of this stuff. And that comes, so there's 20 ounces total in there. So that's plenty enough to do freshwater tank. But you'd want to put that in the tank and then fill it up with water, let it set overnight, run it through everything on the inside. Another thing you can do is use vinegar. Some people have done that. For the ice maker, then you're going to have to cycle that ice maker many, many times. I've had people do bleach, and you can put a 1/8 cup of bleach in like a 50-gallon tank and fill it up and then let it sit for a while. The first thing I always do is I run it through everything. I want to run it through all the pipings inside, 2, 3 cycles in your ice maker, then let it sit for 24 hours and then go back through and drain the tank out and put in fresh water and redo that system. Now, some people, they don't like the bleach smell, so you can go with the bleach that has more of a flowery or, the non-chlorine smell to it. But this stuff also works pretty good. Vinegar works not quite as well. So there are some options that you can do to clean that out really well. You'll want to take, one thing you might also want to do is just take that whole ice maker component out and then just soak it in a solution of this or vinegar and water and just let it sit overnight and let that plastic get rid of all that skunky smell that you're getting out of it. Gary says, New Winnebago 2023 era only have 110 power with the generator, none with the shoreline or dynamic inverter with GFI reset. Also, GFI has been reset on the coach. Batteries are fully charged. What am I missing? So you've got a 2023 era, and you only get 110 volt power from the generator. So I would assume that this is what you have. In fact, let's see if we can get back to that. brochure. I am going to go to owners, resources. Let's get a 3D service on a 2023 Winnebago Era. You didn't tell me what model, but I think they're pretty generic. And we want to go to interior appliance cabinets, heating and air conditioning generator installation. No. Interior. Do we have electrical? Interior parts, pedestals. Bear with me here. I'm trying to find where I would get electrical, exterior generator, interior, labels, LP, plumbing, electric. Why didn't I see that? Okay. 110 volt components. Yes. Okay. You have a distribution center that is, it looks like it's on the passenger side, and depending on what floor plan you have, but under a cabinet. So there's and then and you have an automatic transfer switch. So you could have one of two things. So the way the system works, and it looks like I don't see. I'm going to back up one spot and see if I can find the 12 volt. Come on, loading. There we go. Excuse me. Okay, there's the generator. There's the load center. What's this? Speaker. Okay, so it looks to me that you've got this system right here. So basically what happens is you have a you've got shoreline power comes in. Now you have what's also called an automatic, excuse me. You have an automatic transfer switch. So you've got shoreline power that when you hook up into a campground pedestal on a 30 amp service, it comes into this box, this automatic transfer switch, ATS box. And that box is designed to sense whether your generator is running or your shoreline power has got power coming in. So here's what you can do. Excuse me. I hear it. Where are you? Beeping at me. I always need what's on the bottom. There we go. Okay. This is called a non-contact voltage tester. So what this will do is I can pull let's say this is my shoreline cord. So I come and I don't have to even go inside and test everything. I can tell. So if I'm plugged in to the outlet at the campground source, I have power. Yep. I got my cord. It comes up. It comes into my automatic transfer switch. So let's just use this as an example. It's going to be a box, and it's going to have a wire coming in, the shoreline cord coming in here. It's going to have your wire from your generator coming in as well. And then it's going to have a supply line that goes to this distribution center. So I'm going to take my cord coming in, and I'm like, yep, I've got power coming to this box. I can see that it's energized in there, and it's pretty generic. I mean, I don't have to get right on it. Now I can dial down the sensitivity of this, but I'm just wanting to find out, all right, what's happening here? Yep. Okay. I got power coming into my automatic transfer switch. So what that's supposed to do is that's supposed to switch and send power to this distribution center. So I should be able to come over here to this wire coming to here and find out, do I have power coming in or out? And when the generator is running, this automatically defaults to generator. So when it senses power from the generator, that switch, it's going to go grab power from the generator, take it to here. And so if I have power coming in here, I got power in the box, but I don't have power. Well, let's just hit that button. I still have power. I won't have power. And I typically don't like this one. There we go. I knew I had a better one here somewhere. Okay, so now I like my little Klein kit here. I go back to this. And this one is a little more specific. It tells me that green light, where am I at here? 12 volt power, there we go. So we see here, we got to get a little more specific on it. And we can test. There we go. There we got power coming in. That one has power, that one doesn't. You can also get just a very inexpensive one from Harbor Freight that is not quite, this one is a little more specific to get into the actual thing. I do like the ones that, you know, for this stuff, I don't know why that one started going goofy on me, but I got power coming in and I don't have power coming out. This is my problem. It's not switching over, sensing it's coming from the campground source. So the next thing I would do then, let's say you do have power coming in here and you got power coming out without the generator starting. I don't think that's going to happen, because if you have generator working and it's going through, it's going to give power to this box here. So you know, if you do have power coming in, it is switching, it's going here, then somewhere inside your distribution center, again, I don't see how it could do it, because these two cords, one coming from the generator, the other going to the shoreline, are exactly the same. They're going to carry power. So if I have power at my station, you've got to check that and verify that those circuit breakers are on as well, because most of those are going to get turned off, and you need to turn those circuit breakers on at the distribution center. So this is what you would have at your campground source. So you've got a 20 amp here that's going to run this one. You've got a 30 amp here. You notice it's not on. So you're going to have to make sure that is on. If you have a surge protector in here, you want to make sure that it's going to take about 2 minutes for that to go through and verify everything is working, everything's good. And then it will say you've got 120 volt power and you've got how many amps you're drawing out of the outside of it. Then you test your cord. So you got power coming to here. And like I say, I'm positive that you will not have power coming out of here, because your other wire coming from your generator, it's exactly the same as that. It's just coming from an electrical power source into your ATS, into your distribution center. All right, and I lost my screen. Okay. Gary says New Winnebago, that we just talked about that. Okay. Larry says, how long or miles should the dealer trailer tires last? I got 4,000 miles and 2 years before flats and blowouts started. So tires are the most vulnerable component on an RV, and they're the most neglected. So there is no way anybody can say, well, your tires should last this long, or they should be this many miles, or anything. So normally on a trailer, you're going to have ST tires, standard trailer tires. These are tires that have a better sidewall and a better tread than what you would have on a passenger. They're not good for steering, but they're designed for load bearing and going straight. The problem with trailer tires, and I have been dealing with this for since 1985. Winnebago had a real rash of tire failures out in the market, and Michelin came in and started working with a company called Way We Go. And what is happening is people aren't looking at their tires as far as what weight is on them, what proper pressure is on them, so forth. And so to make your tires last longer, and this is a epidemic in my opinion, you need to weigh your trailer. You need to find out what your axle weight rating is, what your gross vehicle weight rating is. What are we beeping? Okay. I just want to make sure that are we still plugged in? Okay. It's probably my, all right. So Way We Go started off, John Anderson had a problem with fifth wheel and blowing tires out like you're having here. So after about a third set of tires, Michelin finally came in. They weighed his coach and found out he was, grossly over the gross vehicle weight rating. That's the GVWR is the maximum you can have on that trailer. Back then, there was no information, all these compartments, people thinking they could fill them up with whatever they wanted to, and tires were blowing out all over the place. So John started weighing coaches with a company called Way We Go, individual wheel position. Currently, I think they probably have over 75,000 RVs that they have weighed. Initially, 75% of all RVs were overloaded in one weight rating, whether it was gross vehicle weight rating or individual axle or individual wheel. And you really need to get them weighed by individual wheel. Maybe not so much a smaller trailer. You're saying that you have you don't say what kind of a trailer it is, but so you've got to weigh that coach. You've got to find out, what is the weight rating of those tires? What is the axle rating on that? Do not go over that. You need to check your tires every single day you go out on the road for tire pressure. You need to have proper pressure. A trailer, you usually can go by what's on the data sticker because what's on the side of the tire is maximum pressure at maximum weight. That's not always the recommended pressure. You get into these bigger fifth wheels and some of the motorized units, you could put 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of cargo in there. That's going to really make a difference on what pressure should go in that tire. You don't want max pressure if you're not at max weight. Trailers are a little different. You can't put that much stuff in them. So, get the weight ratings on those. Find out, second of all is check your pressure every single day. Every single day you go on there. Cover your tires whenever you're storing them for more than a day or two, because that sun beating down on those tires is going to give you weather checking, and that's going to blow a tire out a lot faster than anything else that's out there. Do not use tire shine. Do not use any of those chemicals on the side of it. That's going to enhance that drying of that sidewall, and you should be able to reduce those. But that is something that they should last a lot longer than that. Now, a lot of people, there's been a lot of discussion about, do you change your tires after every 5 years, every 7 years, after 10 years? Normally we don't even have to worry about that in your case, but there's a DOT stamp on the side of the tire, and the last 4 digits are the month and the year, or the week and the year that tire was manufactured. Now, originally they were saying 10 years, you should replace them. They went to, or 7 years, they went to 10 years. And now what I found from our tire experts at the RV Safety Education Foundation is that they're not even putting a year, because in your case, they said, well, tires, after 10 years, you should replace them. You said, well, I only got 2, so I want you to warrant the tires. Well, it's because of, other circumstances and variables, not the tire itself. So they're saying that you inspect it. We traditionally now are saying when you start getting past 5 years on a trailer, you really need to inspect that tire thoroughly all the time. There is no tire rotation recommendation in them. It's just as if you see some wearing, you know the axle's starting to get out of alignment. Maybe it's bent, maybe it's towing in. Those can be fixed, but it takes a real trailer expert that can go in and do the triangular digital measuring. And sometimes the axle's bent, sometimes the hubs are bent, all depending on the weight. Weights, pressure. They'll extend the life of those tires. So Katie put up thing, are you looking to buy a used RV? We've put together a useful guide to help you become confident buyer, and it is go to the link that is on here and how to buy a used RV. I'm going to click on that and take a look at it. I'm going to download it now. So be prepared for your next adventure. You're almost there. Redeem a ticket. Download guide. And how to buy a used RV. Just looking at. All right. So let's go back to the questions. And so A-OK for you and NV says, I'm getting clouding on my windows, UV baking it in, I assume, some in between two panels. How can I clean it? 2022 Newmar Country Star motorhome. So what you've got is you've got dual pane windows in there. So there are two sheets of glass, and you've got a trim piece in between them. And evidently what has happened is that the seal on your glass has weakened, cracked, and it's allowing moisture to come in, and you're getting moisture then that will eventually etch, and you're getting that clouding on the inside of it. It's not easy to repair that. You can't just clean it. You basically have to take the window out, take it apart, and then put clean the whole glass that's inside of it. They are not argon-filled glass, like a lot of your residential, the dual pane windows in houses have some kind of a gas, they call it, argon or some other kind of gas because it has less moisture in it. These are just air. And so somewhere you've got a leak in that seal, it's allowing moist air to come inside between the two panels and getting foggy. There are some companies that specialize in it. If you Google search dual pane window repair, I've seen some videos on it, but it pretty much means taking the window out, which I'm assuming you have the flange on a 2022. You might have a frameless one, but basically it's taking that window out, taking the frame apart, getting in and cleaning it. Sometimes it's actually cheaper just to put a new window in. David Bonavie says he has a 2019 Phaeton, a Tiffin product, 37 BH, passenger mirror camera is foggy. How do I replace? So it's a Velvac mirror, and I think Velvac, I'm not sure who owns them now, probably Lippert, they own everybody, but I would imagine there's got to be a video on taking that faceplate apart, because normally you've got a back shroud to that mirror, so that you got the mirror and then you've got the camera in it, and you're saying that the camera part is foggy. So somewhere on the inside of that, you must have a protective cover over that. And so I would say let's do a real quick little Winnebago. I'm just going to do a, come on. All right. Velvac mirror parts diagram. Zorro carries them. Yeah, so they've got quite a few different images on that mirror, how to take it apart. So the first thing I would recommend is, let's see if there's a Velvac. There's a lot of companies. Here's a Pacific RV Mirrors that carries it. Velvac itself has a full parts, and it looks like they're still part of that. They've got customer support. They can contact Technical Solutions, and I don't see any mirror video stuff exactly on it. But I think if you go to velvac.com and just go into their products, mirrors, their technical support, right here, you can get a call customer service, get help, Technical Solutions, and frequently asked questions. I don't see any videos listed on here, but I would bet there is some, because you should be able to take that back shroud off and be able to pull apart those parts and get to what you need. Mike, per my previous question, the awning on my 24 aspect, it's a Dometic power patio awning. Oh, okay. So they had not gone to the Lippert Solero. So your Dometic is the old A&E, probably a 9200 on that unit. And you normally have a really good service manual on that. Let me see if I can get to... installation and operation manual. They got videos on it of stuff, and so it really depends on the awning type. I would imagine yours is a 9200. You said it was the electrical one, so you're doing it manually coming in and out. And but what I would also recommend is if you have problems finding, go to the Dometic site, just Dometic.com. This one's documents.dometic.com, but they have how to operate 9100 powered, manual override your Dometic. So that should be able to kind of walk you through what's happening, and then we can kind of take a look at why those two hex screws are not going in. So Ron asks, with all the electronics in the modern Class C RV, how hard is it to convert a 30 amp rig to a 50 amp rig? I guess it's you want to have an electrician do it. You want to have somebody that really knows what they're doing. But here's the example of what you would probably do in something like that. This is a 30 amp distribution center, and I don't believe... So we've got, so instead of, what you're going to have to do is change out the distribution center, first of all, because in a 50 amp service, what's going to happen is you're going to basically have a split of this. So in a 50 amp, what you have right here is you have L1 and L2 on each one of these sides. So what that means is that you have 120 volts at 50 amps here. You have 120 volts at 50 amps there, rather than just this three-way one we have here, which has just L1. So in this one here, we have, and yours would be the same thing. You've got 30 amps coming up to your main breaker system here, and it supplies the whole line. In a 50 amp service, you're going to have two 50 amp breakers here. This half has L1 supplying it. This half has L2. So it has to have a breaker between this bus bar, what it's called, down on the bottom of it. So you're going to have to swap out a distribution center to put a 50 amp, rewire it with the L1 coming into one side, L2 coming into the other side. And then basically you're just going to rewire these, because they are typically going to be just residential style breakers that are put in. So this is 120 volt, and it is a 20 amp. You can see there. And that's the same thing you'd have in yours. So you'd have the same breakers like this, but this half is going to do the front air conditioner. This half is going to do other stuff with the back air conditioner. That way you split the two out, and you don't have both air conditioners going on one leg of this. And that's also why sometimes when you do a 50 amp to 30 amp reducer, let's say you go into a park and you only have 30 amps available, and you get the step down reducer that takes your 50 amp plug-in cord to a 30 amp, plug it in there, and it doesn't have the crossover. It only has it, so you're only getting one line to one side, and this side won't work. So you want the one that supplies the whole thing with 30 amps with your adapter. But all your other wiring is going to be the same. It's going to be 120 volt Romex, just like you would have going to the furnace. I don't have any here that I can show you, but it's your regular, and I don't know the size of it right offhand. It's either 10.3 or I think it's probably 10.3. So it'll have 3 wires going to your appliances, but all that stuff would stay the same. You just need to have somebody rewire it that understands going into that new distribution center. So it is a little more complicated than just swapping out cords. Ronald says with all the luck, and that's the one we just did. So okay, and I am going to run back to, we had some questions earlier today, and let me see if I can find the gold. Got a few minutes here. We can do this. Log in. Webmail. Katie. Okay. So on our goal today, we had some questions that came up that were not related to our battery charging profile, but I thought they'd be good to talk about here. We have Jeffrey says he's got a Grand Design Solitude 31 GK. It's 34.5 feet long. I have a Demco fifth wheel in my 2500 Silverado. While towing, I have like a slight chucking. Do I need a different hitch, or is there a way to eliminate the chucking? So I would check with Demco first of all. I know in a travel trailer, when you hook to the receiver hitch and you got that pin that goes into it, which I have one right here. So this, let's just say this is on the bottom of our truck. This slides into the back of it. It gets that pin put on the inside of it, but you still get some every time you back and forth, even with that pin in there. So there is a product from Roadmaster that is a U-shaped version. It comes up from underneath, and it literally holds this thing in place and takes all that chucking away that you would get from a receiver hitch. Now you've got a fifth wheel, so that's going to be different than this situation, but still what it is you've got your kingpin of your trailer is going into a receiver, and the clamps are going down, and so it's holding it in there. There are some products like Bulldog, which is a plastic piece that goes underneath. Instead of greasing it, that will kind of cushion that bottom and keep it from giving you that clunking from the top to the bottom part of it. But I would also check with Demco and see if there is another a stabilizer that will keep that from moving back and forth and clunking on there, because all it is somewhere you've got some movement and you just need to stop that. The second question he has is he has a washer dryer connection, but he's never used it. Is there any kind of routine maintenance that we need to do, and if we never use it? Maintenance on the washer and dryer is very minimal, other than make sure you get the water out of the lines going to that washer and dryer when you winterize it, and put it into cold weather, because that's something easy to forget. You forget the ice maker in the refrigerator, and you forget the washer in the bedroom area or bathroom. The other thing I would do too is when you're not using it, you're putting it in storage. I think it's a good idea just to run it out of water. There should be a shutoff valve cycle that thing till you get everything out of there. I think with a washer, you can even blow out the water with a little bit of compressed air. Make sure you dial your air compressor down to about 40 psi, not full. And that way you don't have that hard water sitting in the lines, sitting in the washing valves and so forth, because it can get a little skunky after a while. And then the last one is Timothy said, I have a WireCon self-contained electric receptacle that broke and needs to be replaced. Now, he didn't say what kind of RV he has with that, but I'm not familiar with a WireCon receptacle. So I'm going to do a quick search here. Most of the receptacles that we've used in are just typical residential receptacles, nothing fancy. So it looks like a WireCon. Don't know what makes that so special. Self-contained wall receptacle. So what it looks like is oh, okay. So on the back side, instead of the traditional 2 screws, 3 screws you have to put your wires into, this one has a enclosed box, and it looks like those are literally pushed in to spades on the inside. Now, what I don't like about this type of a system is that it's too easy for these wires to slip out. I'm going to turn this around. We got a couple minutes here just so you can see what this, and I've had this come up quite a few times with coaches. And if we can just, you can see right here. So instead of the traditional screws on the side, it has these little spades in here, and that wire is supposed to just slip into it. So the tool he's looking for is some type of a punch down tool that would punch that wire into that spade. I do not like those type of receptacles. They're cheap, and they look good, but when they're in a house, that's fine, because you slide them into that spade and they hold in there, because your house isn't going to bounce 60 miles an hour down the road. I have seen many of these where the wire has literally pulled out because of the vibration that you're getting in these RVs. I like to take the residential style that has the screw that you put a loop around it, you put the screw in it, tighten it down. You do not use the push-ons in the back. Some of them have those. Those are they don't give you a good connection. They don't stay in place. And then once you get those screws installed, you tape it really good around the whole body of that thing with black electrician's tape. I do not like those WireCon. I didn't know that's what they call them, but we always call them spade or push down receptacles. So I would definitely get a different type of receptacle for that. So I don't know if we have any other questions that came in. Those were the 3 from earlier. Go back and just make sure. That we got the RV Repair Club live. Twenty 24th. Okay, we did get a couple more questions that come in. Is this right? No, this is from July. This is July. We got a bunch more that came in. Okay. Electronics, what are your suggestions for keeping rodents from chewing on undercarriage wires, fuel lines and stuff? There's several different products. Rodents don't like mint, spearmint, peppermint, that type of stuff. Grandpa Gus, Fresh Cab, these are all pouches with mint stuff on the inside that people have been able to put all around. Seen a lot of people use those. They work. One of the things that is the best out in the market is Mouse Free, which is a spray. It's a little gooey, but it's guaranteed for a year. It has a mint base to it. The biggest thing with those is mint dissipates fairly quick. So you got to get something that, you know, you can put on and it will last for a longer time. The Mouse Free has a proprietary kind of like a silicone that's part of it. That's what makes it a little gooey underneath, but it's guaranteed for a year. Thomas says, what is your opinion, if any, on RV Roof Magic for our 2021 Gulfstream BT Cruiser with a fiberglass roof? Does it really keep the interior cooler and protect the roof from the elements? Gets pretty hot and sunny here in Tampa, Florida. Everything I've read about RV Roof Magic has been outstanding. We had one of the writers for RVTravel.com put it on hers. She absolutely loves it, but hers was a rubber membrane that was starting to deteriorate. I have not put it on a fiberglass roof as of yet. We are going to shoot next month on our Salem, and I am putting that product on it. I've talked with the owner of this company at length about their product, and I really love the product. I don't know with a fiberglass roof if, you know, I think it will give you a little, you know, it won't keep the interior a whole lot cooler. You're putting on a very thin layer of the rubber membrane on the top of it, and it's not going to give you much more than, I think at one point I saw 0.02 additional R factor out of the top of that roof. That fiberglass is a great product. So I'll do a little bit more research on that, on what it pertains to fiberglass. The rubber membranes that are starting to deteriorate, you know, leaks, all that stuff, it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So, but I still haven't gotten into the fiberglass. I will give Greg a call from RV Roof Magic tomorrow, and we'll talk to him about what his recommendation on fiberglass is. Mine is, if the fiberglass is in still really good condition, I don't know that I would go to that expense. So Mark asks, do RV air conditioners need to be recharged like home airs? They cannot. They're a closed system. You cannot go in and recharge them. You do want to make sure you clean the filters, you clean the evaporator coils from anything inside. I would recommend Soft Start RV because it does a slow ramp up. So you're not going to tax the electrical system coming in, but it also, your capacitors and your compressors don't have that initial 45 amp jolt when it starts up. So I'm a big fan of that. And Nancy says, we are heading to Provincial Park tomorrow with a boil water advisory. Would you fill the water tank? I think I would. And what she's saying is that you probably your local water is getting arsenic in it. It's E. coli in some of the lake stuff and things. Boil the water to preserve it. So if that's going to be an issue for you, I would say put fill the water tank up. But I would also take drinking water in other capacities. I'm not a big fan of putting water in the tank because you get the plastic smell. You can't get out of it. So with that, we're at 5 o'clock, and I appreciate the additional questions that have come in. I do want to say thank you very much to Katie for the years of working together with her. She's been outstanding. She and Angie make this. Angie's my camera lady here. She can never quit because I've told her that she has too many projects that I have to help her with, and so she's not going anywhere. But we do appreciate Katie and Angie both, and it's been fun working with them. And we will still be here, and I'll be still trudging along. They're going to prop me up, and then someday I'll have to resign. I am not running for re-election of the RV Repair Club. I'm not that old. But, so anyway, thank you for coming. Have a great what's left of the summer and fall, and get out there and go camping, and keep sending in your questions and watching our videos, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.